everyone. Welcome to the Key West Tropical Forest and Botanical Garden. If you've ever been to the garden here on Stock Island before, you might have met us. We're the education team, and my name is Miss Kelsey.
And I'm Miss Nicole. So today, we're going to learn all about plants. Let's get started.
So first, we're going to talk about why plants are so important. They're important to us for a lot of different reasons. One of those reasons is the air that we breathe. Do you know the kind of air that we need to breathe? It's called oxygen. So plants take up the bad air, carbon dioxide, and they give off oxygen, the good air that we need to breathe. Another reason why plants are so important to us is that they clean the water. So all the water that we need to drink and to survive, plants help to clean that for us. Another reason why they're so important is that they provide a home to lots of animals. Have you ever seen a bird's nest in a tree? That's the home of the baby bird, and they couldn't have that without our trees. Plants also provide protection for animals, but also for humans, for us. Have you ever seen mangroves or heard of a mangrove tree? Well, those are the big trees that grow in salt water all around the Keys, and they protect us from big storms like Hurricane Irma that we had down here 3 years ago.
Hey Kelsey, look what I found.
Oh wow, you've got some palm berries.
So I'm gonna eat it.
Wait, those are for the birds. We don't want to eat them.
Oh man, so this is bird food?
It is, it's really important for them.
And they come from plants too?
They do.
Oh, but what about lettuce?
We can eat lettuce.
But we just can't eat these?
Just not those berries.
Oh, but I guess that's what makes plants important too. They're also food.
So plants are food for animals and humans, just like us. Here we have a Florida box turtle. These guys are native to Florida and the Florida Keys and can be found throughout the leaf litter and on the ground all throughout the garden. They will be found feeding on berries, fruit, and even leaves. And they help to spread seeds by doing that. Here we have a Spanish needle plant. This is an invasive wildflower here in the Florida Keys, meaning that it's not from here and it spreads very quickly. I'm going to uproot this plant so that we can learn more about plant parts.
Now we're going to talk about the different parts of plants. All plants have some pretty similar parts. So we have here a Spanish needle. You've probably seen this type of wildflower growing around your home. So at the bottom of all plants, we have something that helps anchor them into the ground, the roots. And then as we go up the roots, we have the stem, which helps the flower stand nice and tall and supports it. And then we have the leaves. The leaves help to collect sunlight. And some plants at the top have a flower. And the flowers attract pollinators, so like bees and butterflies. And now we're going to dissect this Spanish needle. So what does that mean? We're going to take it apart and take a closer look at all of the parts of this plant. So let's start at the bottom. First, we need our roots. So remember, the roots help anchor it into the ground. So let's take it apart and put it with our roots. Next, we have our stem. This is the part that helps support and hold it nice and tall. So stems can look differently on different plants. On this Spanish needle, we have a green stem. And then we have some leaves, which collect the sunlight. And leaves can be all different shapes and sizes. They can be small, they can be big, they can be round, they can be pointy. And then at the top, we have our flower. And the flower is what is going to attract our pollinators, like our bugs. And flowers can look all different in different types of colors and shapes. And with some plants, we have seeds. So the Spanish needle has some funny seeds. They're pretty sticky. So sometimes they get stuck to our clothes. They can also get stuck to our shoes, our socks, and even our animals' furs, like our cats and dogs, and that's how the seeds get spread around. So these are the different parts of the plant dissected.
We're going to talk about what plants need. So first of all, let's think about what we need to live, because plants are living just like we are. So let's think about it. Well, you need air to breathe, you need water to drink, you need food for energy, and you need a place to live. So what about plants? Like I said, they're living just like we are. So plants need water, plants need food, they get their energy from the sun, plants need a place to live, in their case it's soil, and they get nutrients from the soil, which is also part of their food. Plants also need air to breathe, and they need to reproduce. They need to make more plants, so they need pollinators in order to do that. So now we're going to talk about all of the parts of the plant that we just dissected a few minutes ago and what the job is of each part of the plant. So how does each part help the plant to survive? Well, let's start at the bottom with our roots. Where are the roots? Well, the roots of the plant are inside of the ground, in the soil. So the roots help to take up nutrients from the soil and give the plant a place to live. So we're going to assign our nutrients in soil to the roots of the plant. Roots also take up water from the ground. That water needs to travel throughout the plant into the leaves and into maybe the flower of the plant. So the stem's job is to move that water all the way up through the plant so that it can survive. Another thing that plants need is sunlight, right? They need to make energy and make their own food from the sun. That happens in the leaf of the plant. Another thing that the leaves will collect is air. So plants actually take in carbon dioxide, which is the air that we don't want, bad air, and they give off oxygen, which is good air. That's the air that we need to breathe. Finally, when we make it to the top of our plant, you'll sometimes see a nice pretty flower. What's the job of a flower? Well, it attracts butterflies, bees, birds, bats, or moths that all pollinate the flower and help the plant to reproduce and to make more plants.
We've dissected a Spanish needle and got to see its roots, stem, leaves, and flower. We're going to take a look at some others because not all roots, leaves, stems, and flowers look the same.
Let's go explore different plant parts and learn about their functions throughout the garden.
So we talked about the different parts of a Spanish needle, but now let's talk about some of the parts of a Poinciana tree. So as we can see here, we've got some roots. These are some exposed roots, and they are much larger than the Spanish needle roots because they need to protect this whole tree. And instead of a regular stem, we have a very large tree trunk. And as we go up the trunk, we can see the leaves, which catch the energy from the sun. And we don't have any flowers blooming at this moment, but we do have some seed pods. And I found one over here on the ground. So inside the seed pods are the seeds. And they have two sides to it, which protect the seeds as an outer layer. And once the seed pods break open, all the seeds that are inside fall out. And that's how this seed can be dispersed and help to grow more Poinciana trees.
So here we have some mangroves. Now mangrove is a tree that can grow in salt water, so it has some unique adaptations. Right here, I have a propagule. So this is actually like the seed of a mangrove. Now how these work is that they fall from the tree into the water, and then they're able to float along until eventually they sink and grow roots and start to grow into a full-grown mangrove tree. Some other unique features we have are all these crazy looking roots behind me. So you'll see that they almost look like they're taking steps. They're coming up and down and out, just like you were to do if you were to take a step. That's why they're called walking roots. And these trees use their walking roots to anchor them into the ground so that whenever a big storm rolls through with a lot of wind, they don't get knocked over, they stay in place. Another unique part of this tree, we have the red mangroves here, but then also we have black mangroves, which is another species. You can see examples of their roots back here. So all these things that are sticking up throughout this area, those are called snorkel roots. And so what's happening here is this is where the gas exchange occurs for a black mangrove. So remember, we talked about how plants take in carbon dioxide, the bad gas, and they give off oxygen. This is where that happens on a black mangrove.
Here we have a rare wax palm from Cuba. And these palm fronds grow these spiky edges here, almost like shark teeth. And the reason they do this is as it grows up, the palm fronds have this adaptation in order to protect the head of the palm, which is where the growth is at. So these spikes protect the palm against potential predators like creatures trying to climb up it.
Some plants have flowers on top, like this one right here. This is a Dwarf Poinsiana. The job of the flower is to attract pollinators. So that can be butterflies, bees, wasps, moths, or bats, even some species of birds. The brightly colored petals, like we see here, are used to attract those animals. They also use scent to attract animals. What they're looking for is nectar found in the middle of the flower. So whenever a butterfly or a bee digs into the middle of the flower, they're looking for nectar, and sometimes they get covered in what's called pollen. It's like a dusty kind of material. That pollen is what gets transferred from one flower to another so that they can reproduce. We can see this guy right here trying to get the pollen off the stamen of the flowers. That's these long parts that are sticking off the end. When he goes from flower to flower, he's actually pollinating them, allowing the plant to reproduce and to make more plants.
If you're interested in learning more about different plants, their functions, and species we have here at the garden, check out KW Virtual Garden by registering for free at keywest.garden/education.
Thanks for joining us today and learning all about plants. Hope to see you at the garden next time.